The first Hell in a Cell match took place 27 years ago at In Your House Bad Blood. The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels would introduce us to the Devil's Playground with a barbaric classic. Since that iconic first one, there have been 52 Cell matches. Sadly, many of those matches took place inside the Cell just because there was a pay-per-view named for the match. With a match like Hell in a Cell, only blood feuds should take place inside the famous cage. Matches like Mankind vs. Undertaker, Batista vs. Triple H, and New Day vs. Usos were all rivalries that had a history of bad blood. Locking the competitors inside the Cell was the only option to try to end the contention. So, with this episode of Two Views Wrestling, we will look at 5 past quarrels that should have ended inside Hell. Before we get to the list, remember to slam that like button and smash that subscribe button to keep up with everything we got coming. Now, let's step inside Hell. Number 5, JBL versus John Cena. John Bradshaw Layfield is a guy I think would have excelled in a Hell in a Cell match. A big Texas brawler that had a style inspired by Stan Hansen could have kicked a lot of asses in the Cell. JBL had a memorable run as WWE champion that would see him survive all kinds of brutal matches, from fatal four-ways to last ride matches to last man standing. He even was locked in a barbed wire steel cage with the Big Show and still came out as the champion. He beat every babyface on SmackDown except one. In 2005, at WrestleMania 21, John Cena would defeat JBL for the WWE title and start his run as probably the greatest star in WWE history. Their rematch would be a savage I Quit match. This match would see Cena bleed so bad it was sickening. Locking these two inside Hell in a Cell could have gone down as one of the most vicious Cell matches ever. Plus, I think it would have been cool to see JBL hit a clothesline from Hell inside of Hell. Number 4, Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. While JBL and Cena were trying to kill each other in the main event, Eddie Guerrero was losing his mind trying to prove he could beat Rey Mysterio. These two had a classic rivalry in the past and even had probably the best match in WCW history. Rey almost always had Eddie's number. Eddie was so deranged that he would reveal a secret that would tear Rey's family apart. Eddie was the real father of Rey's son. This would lead to a ladder match where full custody of the future convict Dirty Dom was on the line. Now, if a man tried to destroy my family like that, I wouldn't face him in a ladder match. I don't care what the worst family court ever says. I would want to be locked in a cage where that man couldn't run from me. This could have been an iconic Cell match. These two would have used Lucha Libre moves and incorporated the Cell as well. While their ladder match was decent and had memorable moments, if they had been locked in the Cell and had a fight for Dominic, it would have been more memorable. Also, about 20 years later, when Dom turned on Rey, it would have been more impactful. Rey went into Hell to battle his best friend and rival to prove his love for his son, just to have that son turn on him and prove he has that Latino heat blood. Number 3, Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. This is a love-hate relationship if I've ever seen one. These two have won numerous tag team titles and multiple companies. They have also tried to kill each other in ladder wars and fights where neither man had any honor. Kevin Owens' first night in NXT, he would celebrate his best friend, Sami Zayn, winning the NXT title, then immediately turned on him. He would go on to seriously injure Sami and take that same NXT title from him. They have had classic matches in WWE and have tried to kill each other when they cross paths in ladder and War Games matches. Locking these two in the Cell would lead to a violent saga. Kevin Owens has shown he is willing to put his body on the line to win a big match. He has taken countless sick bumps in his career, but locked in the infamous cell against his best friend that he hates, he would be willing to die if he knew Sami was coming with him. This would be a cell match that has drama, emotion, and beautiful violence. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are two guys that take the term fight forever serious, and one or both men might not walk away from this one. Number 2, The Rock versus Mankind. In early 1992, these two would battle in empty arena, last man standing, and I Quit matches. Their famous I Quit match at the Royal Rumble would see The Rock try to murder Mankind with brutal, unprotected chair shots to the head. This heinous act would take place in front of Foley's wife and kids. If ever there was a feud made for a Hell in a Cell match, this was it. In 1999, Rock and Mankind were the second and third biggest stars behind Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, there have been reports that there were discussions of doing a triple threat match for the main event of WrestleMania 15. If that happened, you could have Rock and Mankind cost each other the victory and set up the finale of their monstrous rivalry. At Backlash 1999, they could lock these two inside the diabolical cell, and these two could settle the score. Mankind could cut promos about his cell match with The Undertaker and the I Quit match with The Rock. He could talk about how he has advised his family not to watch, not because of what might happen to him, but because of what he plans on doing to The Rock. The Rock could guarantee to end Mankind this time. Fans would practically be foaming at the mouth with the thoughts of the violence that they were about to see. Attitude Era fans were terrible SOBs and loved violence. They couldn't have lived up to what Mankind and Undertaker did the year prior, but that wouldn't be from lack of trying. Number 1, Tomaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano. In 2018, these two would brutalize each other in a Chicago street fight, a last man standing match, and even an unsanctioned match. These two hated each other so much that WWE didn't want to be responsible for what happened. I remember being in awe at the violence and punishment these guys inflicted on each other. NXT has never had a Hell in a Cell match, and I think this rivalry was the perfect match for that first one. These two have great chemistry inside the ring. They also aren't afraid to unleash a beating on each other. I think the best Cell match ever was The Undertaker versus Triple H, but this match could definitely give it a run for its money. With their history as former friends, roommates, and tag team partners, this match would have a lot of emotion in it. Their 3-match series would see them raise the level of violence every match. Locking them inside the cell would have given me chills wondering what they were about to do to each other. Ciampa versus Gargano is possibly the best rivalry in NXT. Give them the first NXT Hell in a Cell, and they not only cement that spot, but go down as one of the best rivalries in all of WWE.
All right, so looking at your list, hearing you explain it, 2 that stood out to me is John Cena and JBL. I think during that time of Cena, and just looking back at Cena's career retrospectively now, they would have had a brutal match in there. I think it would have worked well for who Cena is, the underdog. Against all odds, I overcome it.
Yeah.
Defeating the big bad boss. And it would have been good for his legacy to have. It would have just gave us another match to be like, oh, you want to see who Cena was? Go watch that Hell in a Cell against JBL.
Right.
And then Ciampa and Gargano, you've been hyping up forever that it should have been Hell in a Cell. I've read so many fans' opinions online about how that is like one of the best rivalries of all time. You mentioned their series of matches. Critically loved.
Yeah.
Fans love it. So, like, why didn't they end up in the cell?
It was tailor-made, like, for the first NXT Hell in a Cell. It was those two.
The only thing I've always thought is maybe Triple H assumed they both could have got over on the main roster and hold it off for the main roster, but look what happened when you assume, because they're
I
neither one's over.
I always wondered if it was like they see Hell in a Cell as like a main roster thing, and they just weren't going to do it on NXT.
But if there was ever a feud for it, it
That
was
was it. Yeah,
yeah. So now it's like if you ever do an NXT Hell in the Cell, it's going to
it's
feel
never going to
flat.
live up. Yeah,
Some feuds that stood out to me that deserved a finish in Hell in the Cell was Daniel Bryan and The Miz. I think that there was legit hatred between them two. They're polar opposites on the spectrum of a professional wrestler. One is this indie style. One is
the
the
like WWE style. Yeah,
uh, the fans are going to be riled up with it. Like they're all going to be behind D-Bry. The internet fanboys are going to be mad at The Miz. Even got a Hell in a Cell match. I mean, I know that the narrative on The Miz has finally came around where people are seeing the talent that was always there, and now he's kind of a darling on the internet.
yeah.
But at this time, he still had a lot of hatred
Yeah.
towards him. So I think the feud finishing in Hell in a Cell would have been
Also for
big.
that one, like they had a window for that too in 2018. Because if you go back to the Talking Smack moment where he dogs him out about, oh, if you want to wrestle, leave and all that. And then when Bryan came back in 2018, he had that match with The Miz at SummerSlam, and The Miz cheated to beat him. They're like, right after that's the Hell in a Cell pay per view. That would have been the perfect time to lock them inside a Hell in a Cell. Like,
And it's like you said before, they've had a lot of matches that don't really call for it. Those two call for it.
and that's a feud that had gone back to 2010. So it had the history and the bad blood, and you have Miz cheat. So you have it's all right there, and they just didn't pull the trigger on it.
And the other one that came to mind, and this one could still happen because the feud isn't over per se, is Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes 3. Like, to me, both matches having the interference, it calls for Hell in a Cell. Both guys being the best. I know Seth Rollins wants to, put his name as the best, but realistically, let's be honest here. It's Cody, it's Roman for the
Right.
top dog in WWE. And thinking about them finishing the last one in this Hell in a Cell, it's so perfect. Like all the cinematic moments that these guys have had, we just got another one when he comes out with Solo and then he just looks at Cody and there's just like you get
Yeah.
goosebumps with those two guys, putting them
Yeah.
in the cell and knowing like, hey, there's no interference. This is going to be their last time we see them. I also love the idea of them both falling off the cell and Cody just lands with his arm on top of Roman, and that's how Cody wins. Because Cody has to win to me because he's gonna stay in WWE
Yeah.
full time. But it also protects the aura of the tribal chief Roman Reigns, where like, yeah, I lost to Cody, but it was like it's literally that thing of like you got the better of me, but it's
It's
just
like a
because
fluke.
yeah, like
Yeah.
your hand fell on top of me. It could have went either way.
Yeah.
But we took each other to literally the limit where we fall off the Hell in the Cell.
Unfortunately, like for me, I think that window's closed on that just because Roman came back as a baby face. The way they could get there is if they have like a third match and it's a straight up match and then the bloodline interferes. So it's like, okay, we'll lock them in a regular cage, and then Fatu could jump off of the cage onto the two of them and interfere again. So then you're like, okay, let's lock them in the cell. It's just like I feel like with Roman as a baby face, it's too they're gonna respect each other now type of thing, and I don't see it being in a cell.
Do you even see us getting a third match?
I think there's gonna be a third match like down the line, but it's gonna be one of those like, let's see who the best is, and it's not gonna be like an anger hatred type of feud. I don't think that they'll like feud like that ever again.
They just won't. Neither one will be calling interference into the match.
Yeah, it'll just be like I like for each of us we need to see who the best is, and this time we can have a straight up match.
Who goes over clean?
You probably got to go Cody just because, like you said, Roman's leaving. But uh, me personally, I don't think Cody's better than Roman. So,
Do you think Roman would put Cody over clean?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Roman's not an ego maniac.
I don't think so.
No.
No. I think all the booking of the bloodline. I think he was trying to get the bloodline over.
I definitely. I feel like main event Jay is only main event Jay because of Roman Reigns.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think
And
Solo would have been fine though, because I liked his
yeah,
character in NXT.
Solo would have been fine, but it was. I feel like it might have been too soon to put him in the new tribal chief position. And then when you add Fatu, it's like I'm never gonna care about Solo as long as Fatu's there.
Yeah.
And Tonga Loa.
And I don't think he really helped out Jimmy, but maybe.
Yeah, I think the Jimmy thing was just trying to get to the Jimmy and Jay thing.
And he helped out Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn, I always thought Sami Zayn could be in a Daniel Bryan role, but WWE was never getting him there. Roman got him to this
The
underdog
thing with the
role.
bloodline saved Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to look at his career a lot different now because of the bloodline than if he doesn't ever interact with Roman Reigns.
Oh yeah.
I mean, some people would actually probably pick him over KO, and I think if you pick him over KO, it's literally just because of the bloodline Roman stuff. Because KO is
It's almost like a I don't know. It's if you pick Sammy over KO to me, it's just like you just like funny stuff because that was Sammy and the Bloodline was funny. Where KO he hasn't really ever done like the comedy thing in WWE.
the Jericho stuff was funny.
Yeah, but it wasn't like
He wasn't the butt of the jokes.
he wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't him being funny. It was.
And I think KO more so than Seth even could lay claim to top dog with Roman and Cody.
I think that Kevin Owens is a better rival for Roman Reigns than Seth Rollins. They had the history with the Shield, but to me, like if Roman Reigns is there and KO's there, it's like on site. Like KO's gonna fight him, and they've had some like really good like last man standing matches before. So I just feel like Kevin Owens was the unsung hero of the Bloodline storyline. And I think he's a better rival for Roman Reigns than Seth Rollins and some other guys.
All right. So now getting back on track to Hell in the Cell, let us know in the comments some feuds that you thought should have ended in Hell in the Cell but didn't. Also, Roman Reigns' greatest feud. Is it Kevin Owens or is it Seth Rollins?